So hello everyone, and thank you very much for staying with us till this late hour. I'm very happy to introduce Minducate, the Minducate panel. So I'm Dr. Dana Baron. I'm the head of Entrepreneurship and Industry Academy Relationship at the Segol School of Neuroscience. And I'm hosting today some of the top researchers of the new center Minducate, Tel Aviv Centers for Science of Learning, that started last year as a joint venture of the Segol School of Neuroscience and of Tau Online, and is really focusing and gathering all the researchers that are interested in science of learning at the Tel Aviv campus to figure out what are the practical solutions that we can have for the future of learning. So maybe we start, before we introduce each one of us, the guests here, we start maybe with approaching Uri Asheri, the head of, Professor Uri Asheri, the head of the Segol School, which will tell us about a little bit about the Minducate Center and what is so unique about this center, actually.
So the way we thought that we should go is by bringing together to the table researchers coming from many disciplines. And when I say different disciplines, I mean people from education, researchers from cognitive psychology, engineering, management, and all of them, when they sit in one room and tackle the question of how we can improve learning, how we can improve education, I think brings really new idea into the table. This is based on the philosophy that Tel Aviv University took on itself a couple of years ago when established the Segol School of Neuroscience, which brought together 140 researchers coming from 8 different faculties. All of them are interested to learn how the brain works, but each one brings its own ideas in its own disciplines. And the way we educate the next generation is really not only to think in multidisciplinary way, but also to combine academy, clinics, and industry. And we think that by putting everything together, this will bring the next breakthrough also to the science of learning.
Thank you, Uri. And now we gathered some very short animation clip that will demonstrate maybe what is Minducate in 1 minute.
Tel Aviv University's cutting-edge research and innovation center for science of learning. A multidisciplinary hub for researchers and entrepreneurs coming from neuroscience, cognitive psychology, computer science, engineering education, and management. All working together, creating game-changing, scientifically validated, innovative solutions for learning. Powered by brain technology and understandings, striving to breach, monitor, modulate, and enhance the capabilities of our brain to learn, comprehend, and communicate. Minducate. Mind tech, changing learning, changing minds. From robots to virtual reality. From monitoring brain activity to engaging the mass. The future of learning is here. The brain revolution of the last century is reaching learning and education. The time has ripened to bring this field from science fiction to the classroom. Bridging, for the first time, between academy, industry, and the entire education community, reaching to a new level of R&D in the field.
Thank you, and now we just watched a little glimpse of what is Minducate, but now let's meet our panel members. So let's start with introducing maybe very shortly each one of the researchers. So Oli.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming. I'm Dr. Oli Fuhrman. I studied language in the brain at Stanford University. Then I founded a startup called Lingually that helps people learn languages online. And now I focus on virtual reality environments and how they can help us learn languages better.
Hi, I'm Ayala Alon, and I'm a cognitive neuroscientist, and I focus on the neural correlates of reading comprehension.
Hi, I'm Dr. Limor Deskovich, a computational chemist in my background and a researcher for developing new methods and technologies for engaging the mass in academic courses.
Hey, my name is Rinat Rosenberg-Kima. I actually did my postdoc at UC Berkeley, where I worked with Amplified Learning that was mentioned earlier in the morning on their digital science curriculum. And today I'm researching social robots in the context of the classroom.
Hello, my name is Konstantin Sonkin. I'm researcher and entrepreneur in the field of direct human-computer interaction.
Thank you, everyone. And now I think we dedicate the next maybe 12 minutes to discuss what is actually the future of learning as we see it as scientists, okay? And what can we offer for now as practical solution when we plan future learning. So it's not going to look like this, but more, I think, like this. But let's look at the basic questions when we talk about learning. So if we talk about what will we learn in the future, Orly, maybe you can answer. Is it going to be virtual reality classes? Is it the real learning experience?
Thank you. So the real question, I think, is what do students learn today and how they learn today? And I think today the reality in the classrooms is that oftentimes students sit in a classroom, like we saw on the slide, and learn in a very artificial way. And that's not the way our brains learn optimally. And in virtual reality in our project is a new way to involve all the senses and the motor system to learn new languages. And that's the way children learn a new language, by interacting with objects in the real world and getting feedback on their activity with them.
So you're actually saying that the virtual reality will be more real than the learning?
Might be more real than reality in the classroom.
Today, interesting. So if we move on to when we know what are we going to learn, but how we will measure learning? So can we measure the learning brain? Ayala.
So we aim to develop application in which learning will be measured by monitoring the brain signals while people study new material. And then each part of the study material will be classified in real time according to the brain signals that indicate whether each part of the study material was well understood, such that you don't need to restudy it, and which parts of the study material well poorly understood, such that you do need to restudy them. Namely, the application we aim to develop will be able to give online feedback based on the brain signals that indicate which parts you understand and which parts you did not understand.
Okay, so what you're saying is that we can already start measuring the learning brain, but the question is, should we? So should we monitor the brain? Should we? Konstantin, maybe you?
Well, it's even more provocative. Should we control the learning brain? And it's written in there, yeah? And recently there are solutions available for home use that promise increase of attention, cognitive skills, and even sometimes achievement of genius. Nevertheless, we need to clearly understand differences. Some solutions are really safe, using non-invasive, scientifically validated neurofeedback techniques. Others are completely safe based on placebo effects. But still, there are solutions that are based on really challenging approaches for direct manipulating of entire brain processes. And towards that solutions, we, in my opinion, have to be as careful as for treatment of patients. But good news that we definitely do not need our physicians for solutions that we discuss nowadays.
Okay,
today.
That's a real, I think, ethical question that we could have maybe a separate panel on. It's really fascinating to think about it. But let's move on to who will be actually the teacher in the future classroom, and maybe Rinat can answer this. Do you think that robots can replace us humans in the...
Well, so I don't think that the robots will replace the teachers, but I do think that they can augment them and enhance them. So if I envision myself as a teacher with 3 robotic helpers on my side, I can see myself standing in a classroom where the kids are working on their reading assignment, and I might walk around and see that David might have some problems with reading. So I will offer him to go and sit with robot number 1 and read along at the text with him. And then maybe Sarah will work with robot number 2 and so on. And when we move on to second language, the kids can actually interact with the robots in the target language, which could be nice. Well, I also see the robots as playing a role not only in the classroom, but also in teachers' education. So, for example, imagine a simulated classroom with 30 children sitting, played by robots. And the pre-service teacher can go inside and safely check their skills and practice their teaching skills. And if we go back to the classroom, I see the role of the robot as a teaching assistant, but not only that, but it can also play the role of a peer, and even a peer with difficulties, in which case I might assign David to model how to solve a multiplication problem to the robot. So maybe at the end of the day, I will sit with my 3 robots, and they will give me a report on the students, student that they worked with, and report on their progress. And to summarize it all, I think that if we look back to Bandora's social learning theory that was mentioned yesterday, I see the robot as not only modeling cognitive skills, but also social skills, such as values, such as politeness, patience, generosity, curiosity, growth mindset. And with that, I think that robot might not replace us as humans, especially not the teachers, but they can actually help us become better human beings.
Okay, interesting. And yes?
Well, I'd like just to add my dare scientific dream, not even vision. And my dream is that robots could really replace humans, but not teachers, but students. And yes, I would explain now, because development of human-computer interfaces gives opportunity to a person to direct control of devices by means of mental commands decoding from brain signals. And that is especially important for disabled children unable to live the same daily life as their healthy peers. Imagine a class of students, and in the place of disabled child sits avatar, a robot resembling him in size and appearance, and this robot could transfer to its master everything that its camera eyes see. It can hear with a microphone, and it can rotate its head, and even synthesize speech that speaks or types its master. And that remote presence system can allow disabled child not only to acquire knowledge on the common basis, but also to overcome psychological barriers of isolation. That
could be really revolutionizing for disabled children, I think. It's a really interesting idea. So maybe almost last, but where will this learning happen in the future? So can we still engage mass numbers of students as we see in the university, large classroom of 100, 200 students? How can we do it still?
Yes,
Limor?
of course we can. And learning can take place everywhere, in class, online, and in everyday experiences. But as online courses have been developed, traditional academic courses remain the same. And we can ask why and what is the difference between academic courses and just reading Wikipedia. So academic courses should differentiate themselves from the growing knowledge bases available and free for everyone on the web by enhancing long-term and meaningful learning. This can only be achieved by changing the concept of one speaker in the class. Students must be actively involved during class. They should get opportunities to construct, deduce, predict, and even test given theory. And of course, we can engage the mass by using the so many smart, available digital tools that can help us to create smart class, smart lessons where students can vote, discuss, and express their opinions interactively and smartly. And this is a whole a new experience. We've actually tried this, and we ran a few lessons in that form, and the responses were great. Students declared that for the first time they have been given an opportunity to stop and think during a lesson, and this is a game changer.
Yes.
So, and we hope to keep it.
I agree. Maybe Uri can share the vision of how the school sees the next step of higher education.
No, I think as a lecturer, I do see it already happening since we started to implement what Limor was just saying, and it's really amazing. Usually the class look like that, partially empty. And we really want students to come to the class and be engaged in what we are doing and to be active. And the way to do it is really to give them, during the class, a lot of activity online that they can share, they can think, or if you just ask a question and ask them to work in groups, and then you can walk through them with the TA, get their feedback, they think about it, they come with the solution, and they are part of the class. They are not the student and the teacher. This is one unit. So this is how I see the next generation.
Okay, so I see there's still reason to arrive to the classrooms, at least in the Sagol School. So maybe one last question is, when will all of this happen? So we talked about future things, and we talked about things that can be practically done in the very near future, or even are already done. So maybe each one in his own field will say, what is his expectation? When will it happen? So maybe we start with Orly.
So I think for virtual reality implementation in the classroom, the technology is pretty much ripe today to start using it. The big obstacle, as it is oftentimes, is a paradigm shift that is needed in the schools to understand how to move away from the model that Uri and Limor described, kids sitting in a classroom and listening to one professor lecturing, and switch to a more active and individual learning mode that virtual reality involves.
So you see it already happening.
Yeah, I think now research is starting to kick in to prove the concept and show what the benefits of VR environments are. And then this paradigm shift will hopefully happen.
Okay, Ayala, when can we have these applications ready for brain monitoring constantly?
So I think it depends on a lot of factors. So it's really hard to say. First, we focus on the scientific proof of concept, and then we move to develop the application itself. So I would say between 5 to 10 years.
Okay, not so far. Konstantin, when is a brain-machine interface ready for daily use?
Really, they are in the middle of their way to the peak of expectations, according to recent Gartner's hype cycle, and the number of research papers increases exponentially, and even Elon Musk has just announced his startup in this field. Thus, my estimation that first widely used solutions for medical rehabilitation will be available in 3 years, and full human-computer interaction system, including robots, within 10 years. Nevertheless, it might be faster.
Okay. And Rinat, when are we going to have a robot for each child?
So robot for each child, I think that the biggest challenge right now regarding robots is the problem of speech recognition, especially when it comes to young children and natural language processing. So I think in that terms, I think it will take us maybe 10 years to get to a really natural conversation between a child and a robot. But nevertheless, we are making progress. And last summer, we did a study at MIT with robots and kindergarten children. And in 2 weeks, we're running another study with a robot facilitator of small groups at Tel Aviv University.
So do you invite them all to come to the,
of course.
the lesson? Okay, so we gathered here all the questions. I think that the center, only some of them, a glimpse of what is the Minducate Center is doing and developing, and I'm sure that next year we will have more developments and more futuristic ideas. So I would like to thank all the panel members and also invite you to read more about us at our website, and also, last but not least, inviting you to our hackathon in 2 weeks. Brain and Learning Hackathon at the university. So thank you very much for joining us.